Evelyn Hartwell's hands shook as she counted the bills in her coat pocket for the third time. 63 miles, 16 hours of changing bedpans, of holding dying hands, of pretending she wasn't dying inside herself. The December wind cut through her scrubs like they were made of paper, and her feet screamed in shoes held together with duct tape and prayer. The emergency room doors of Ridgemont Memorial slammed behind her at 2:17 a.m., and the cold hit her like a physical blow. 16 hours down, two more jobs to go before she could sleep. Maybe, if sleep would come at all anymore. Her phone buzzed. Mrs. McLeod. Evie, I'm so sorry, but my daughter just called. Her baby's sick. I need to go right now. Evie's stomach dropped into her worn-out sneakers. I'm 20 minutes away. Can you just... She's fine. Sleeping on the couch. I left the door unlocked. I'm so sorry, honey. The line went dead. 20 minutes. Lily had been alone before. 6 years old and already learning what it meant to have a mother who was never quite there. Already understanding that survival meant sacrifice, that love sometimes looked like absence. Evie walked faster, her breath forming clouds in the December air. The snow had started an hour ago, light and innocent at first. Now it fell in thick curtains that erased the streetlights, that turned familiar streets into a maze of white and dark. She cut through the industrial district. Faster route, emptier. Dangerous maybe, but fear was a luxury she couldn't afford. Fear didn't pay rent. Fear didn't put food on the table. Fear didn't keep a 6-year-old girl safe in an unlocked apartment. 4 years. 4 years since David had fallen asleep at that press machine, exhausted from pulling a double shift to pay for Lily's third birthday party. One moment of closed eyes, one mechanical press, and Evie's world had compressed into before and after. Before, when she'd had a partner. After, when she'd had only herself. The bus station loomed ahead, its fluorescent lights flickering against the storm like a dying beacon. Evie almost missed her, almost walked right past the shape against the wall. Too small, too still, too wrong for a night like this. She stopped. Hello, nothing. Just the wind and the snow and that terrible stillness. Evie moved closer. The shape became a child. A little girl, maybe 7 or 8, curled against the brick like she was trying to disappear into it. Her coat was wrong for winter thin and torn at the shoulder. But her feet, God, her feet were bare, raw and bleeding against the concrete, the skin mottled purple and white. Hey, sweetie, Evie's voice cracked on the words. Are you okay? The girl's head lifted. Her eyes opened, but they didn't focus. They stared past Evie, clouded and unseeing, looking at something Evie couldn't see. In her frozen fingers, a white cane lay snapped in half. Blind. This child was blind. The girl tried to speak, but only a whimper came out. Her lips were blue, not the blue of cold, the blue of dying. Evie dropped to her knees, her own exhaustion forgotten. The concrete soaked through her scrubs, ice water against her skin, but she didn't feel it. Didn't feel anything except the desperate need to fix this, to save this, to not let another person die on her watch. I'm here. You're okay. I'm here now. She pulled off her coat, the only warm thing she owned, and wrapped it around those tiny shoulders. The girl weighed nothing, just bones and cold skin and shallow breaths that rattled like dry leaves. How long had she been here? Hours, all night. Can you tell me your name? The girl's teeth chattered so hard Evie could hear them clicking together. Grace, Grace. Okay, Grace. I'm Evie. Where's your family? Lost. I got lost. Evie's hands moved on instinct, rubbing the girl's arms, trying to generate heat. Her medical training was basic. Just CNA certification, just enough to know when someone was dying. And Grace was dying. Stage 2 hypothermia, maybe stage 3. This child needed a hospital now. She pulled out her phone, dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? I found a little girl. She's hypothermic blind. Looks like she's been outside for hours. We're at the Ridgemont bus station on Mam. We're experiencing extreme call volume due to the storm. Multiple accidents. Can the child walk? Evie looked at Grace's bloody feet, her blue lips, the way her eyes couldn't quite focus on anything. No, she needs an ambulance now. We'll dispatch as soon as possible. Could be 90 minutes. Can you get her to warmth? 90 minutes. Grace didn't have 90 minutes. Grace barely had 9 minutes. Forget it. Evie hung up. She scooped Grace into her arms, and the girl's head lolled against her shoulder, consciousness fading like a candle in the wind. Evie's mind raced, calculating distances, weighing options, measuring one child's life against another's fear. The hospital was 10 blocks back. But Lily was alone, waiting, scared. Probably awake by now, wondering where Mommy was, why Mommy always left, why Mommy was never there. Grace's breath rattled. Weak, getting weaker. Evie looked down at this stranger's child, then thought of Lily. What if this was Lily? What if her baby girl was the one freezing and blind and alone while strangers walked past? What if Lily was the one no one stopped for? The choice wasn't a choice at all. Hold on, Grace, just hold on for me. The 24-hour diner was 6 blocks away. Evie knew because she'd worked there on weekends before they cut her hours, before the manager told her she looked too tired to serve customers, before another door closed in a long line of closing doors. Her arms burned carrying Grace, but she didn't stop. Couldn't stop. The snow had turned vicious wind, whipping it sideways, erasing the world one white sheet at a time. Grace stirred against her shoulder. Mommy. The word broke something in Evie's chest, something that had been barely holding together for 4 years. Not Mommy, sweetie, but I've got you. I promise I've got you. Where's my daddy? We're going to find him. First, we get you warm. The diner's neon sign appeared through the storm like an answer to a prayer Evie hadn't known she was saying. She shouldered through the door, and the heat hit them both like a wall. Randy, the night cook, looked up from his grill, his eyes going wide. Holy hell, Evie. What, call an ambulance? Now. Randy grabbed his phone while Evie carried Grace to the corner booth. She laid her down, gently peeling back the soaked coat. Grace's dress underneath was party nice all wrong for winter, like she'd been dressed for something special before everything went wrong. Ambulance is 45 minutes out. Randy's voice was tight. Storm's got everything backed up. Evie cursed under her breath. She grabbed napkins, started rubbing Grace's feet, trying to restore circulation. The skin was mottled, possibly frostbitten. Every touch made Grace whimper. I know it hurts, baby. That's good. That means you can still feel. Randy brought hot water and towels, his hands shaking. What happened? Found her at the bus station. She's blind. Lost. I don't know more than that. You call the cops. Evie looked at him, and he saw the answer in her eyes. What do you think they're going to do that an ambulance can't? Randy nodded. He'd worked this neighborhood long enough to know the truth. Police didn't rush for kids who looked like Grace, with her dark skin and worn clothes, and eyes that couldn't see their indifference. They'd file a report. They'd forget about it by morning. Grace's eyes fluttered open, still unfocused, still frightened, still looking at a world she couldn't see. I'm cold. I know, sweetheart. We're fixing that. Evie wrapped the hot towels around Grace's feet, watched her wince at the pain that meant life returning to dying tissue. Can you tell me what happened? How did you get lost? Grace's lip trembled. There were bad men. Daddy was yelling. Someone grabbed me, put me in a car. Evie's blood froze in her veins. I got scared and I ran when the car stopped. But I couldn't see where I was running. I just kept going until I couldn't go anymore. Evie's stomach knotted. This wasn't a lost child. This was something worse. Did the men hurt you? Grace shook her head, and Evie felt something loosen in her chest. They were talking about Daddy, about making him do something. I don't know what. Then the car stopped and the door was open, and I just ran. Kidnapping. Evie was holding a kidnapped child. Her hands started shaking again, but not from the cold this time. Randy leaned in close, voice low. Evie, if this is what I think it is, get her some food. Evie cut him off. Hot chocolate, soup, whatever we've got. Randy hesitated, then nodded and headed to the kitchen. Evie turned back to Grace. The girl was crying now, silent tears sliding down her cheeks, and Evie wanted to cry with her, wanted to scream, wanted to run. I want my daddy. We're going to find him, okay, but first you need to eat something. Can you remember anything about where you live? Grace's face scrunched in concentration, and Evie could see her reaching for memories through the mow of trauma and cold. There's motorcycles, lots of them, really loud, and men with beards who smell like smoke and leather. Daddy has a jacket with a bird on it, a big bird with its wings out. Evie's heart sank. Motorcycles, leather, birds. She knew what that meant. Everyone in Ridgemont knew. She left Grace for just a moment, walked to the bathroom in the back. Her hands gripped the sink as she stared at her reflection. 48 hours without sleep. Medical debt collectors calling 3 times a day. Lily alone in that apartment. And now this. She looked up at the bulletin board by the bathroom door. Flyers for lost pets, garage sales, church services. And they're half hidden behind an ad for cheap car insurance, a missing child poster. Grace Castellano, age 8. Last seen December 18th. If found, contact Victor Vic Castellano. Below that in smaller print that made Evie's blood run cold, President Hells Angels Motorcycle Club, Ridgemont Chapter, and a phone number. Evie's hands went numb. Hells Angels. The name alone made people cross the street. David had warned her about them before he signed in those last good months before exhaustion killed him. You see those vests, you walk the other way. Those men don't play by anyone's rules. But Grace was just a child. A blind child who'd been taken, who'd escaped into a blizzard, who'd somehow survived long enough for Evie to find her. Evie pulled the flyer down, folded it into her pocket, and walked back to the booth. Randy had brought food. Grace sat with a mug of hot chocolate between her tiny hands, steam rising into her face like hope made visible. She turned toward Evie's footsteps, her blind eyes finding Evie's direction with that uncanny precision that came from living in darkness. You came back. Of course I came back. Evie slid into the booth across from her. Now let's get some food in you. Grace reached out and Evie guided her hand to the spoon. The girl ate slowly, mechanically, like she'd forgotten what hunger was like. Her body was going through motions while her mind was still running through snow. Between bites, she talked, her voice small and lost. Daddy says I'm his whole world. He says when Mommy died having me, I became his reason for everything. But sometimes bad people want to hurt Daddy, and they think hurting me will work. Evie's throat tightened. Your daddy loves you very much. Do you have kids? The question hit like a slap. A daughter. Lily, she's 6. Is she waiting for you? Evie's phone felt like lead in her pocket. Yes. Lily was waiting, alone, scared, probably watching the door, counting the minutes until Mommy came home. She pulled out her phone. 3:08 a.m. She'd been gone almost an hour since Mrs. McLeod left. She texted baby, I'm okay. Had an emergency. Be home soon. Lock the door. I love you. 3 dots appeared, then stopped, then appeared again. Okay, Mommy, scared. Evie's eyes burned. She typed back, I know, baby. So proud of you. So brave. 30 minutes. But even as she sent it, she knew it was a lie. The ambulance still wasn't here. Grace still needed help. And now Evie had a phone number burning in her pocket, attached to a name that terrified half the city. Grace, I found a poster with your picture. It has a phone number for your dad. Grace's face lit up like sunrise. You can call him, I can. But first I need to know, are you safe with him, those bad men who took you? Were they your dad's friends or his enemies? Grace's expression turned solemn, wise beyond her 8 years carrying knowledge no child should have to carry. Daddy has enemies. That's what Uncle Jack says. Daddy keeps us safe from them. But sometimes they try to hurt us anyway. Those men who took me, they weren't Daddy's friends. They hated him. Evie pulled out the flyer, looked at the number. Her hand hovered over her phone. Once she made this call, there was no going back. Victor Castellano would know who she was, where she was. Men like him didn't forget debts, didn't forget faces, didn't forget the people who got tangled in their world. But Grace, Grace was just sitting there blind and trusting and waiting to go home. Evie dialed. The phone rang once, twice. Then a voice answered, rough and desperate and barely controlled. Who is this Mr. Castellano? My name is Evelyn Hartwell. I have your daughter. Silence. Then an explosion of sound, shouting into the background, motorcycles revving to life, chaos erupting like a dam breaking. Put her on, right now. Evie handed the phone to Grace. It's your dad. Grace's whole body relaxed, tension draining out of her like water through a sieve. Daddy. Evie couldn't hear the other side, but she watched Grace's face transform from fear to joy to tears that weren't terror anymore. I'm okay, Daddy. A nice lady found me. Miss Evie. She's taking care of me. More talking. Grace listened, nodded, smiled through her tears. I don't know where. A restaurant. It's warm and there's hot chocolate and Miss Evie gave me her coat. Grace held out the phone. He wants to talk to you. Evie took it, her heart hammering against her ribs like it was trying to escape. Hello, where are you? No introduction. No thank you. Just command pure and simple. Rita's Diner, corner of 5th and Industrial. Don't move. Don't let her out of your sight. Don't talk to anyone. We're coming, Mr. Castellano. I need to 15 minutes. The line went dead. Evie stared at the phone. 15 minutes. She looked at Grace, who was smiling now, exhausted but happy, believing with a child's faith that Daddy would make everything okay. Then she looked at Randy, who'd gone pale as old snow. Evie, his voice was barely a whisper. You just called the Hells Angels. They're coming here. What was I supposed to do? Literally anything else. Randy grabbed his keys, his hand shaking. I'm gone. I ain't here when they show up. Randy Jesus Evie. He's not just some biker. Vic Castellano is the guy other criminals are scared of. He's also a father whose child was kidnapped. And you don't think he's going to want to know how you found her. You don't think he's going to ask questions. Evie's chest tightened. She hadn't thought about how this looked. A random woman calling in the middle of the night claiming to have his missing daughter. What would she think if it was Lily Randy left through the back? The bell over the door chimed his exit, and suddenly the diner felt very large and very empty. Grace reached across the table, her small hand finding Evie's with that uncanny blind precision. Miss Evie, you're scared. I can hear it in your breathing. I'm okay, sweetie. Daddy sounds scary sometimes, but he's not. Not to people who help us. Evie wished she had Grace's faith. She checked her phone again. Lily had sent another text. Mommy, please. When are you coming home? Almost done, baby. I promise, you're so brave. Outside through the diner windows, she saw headlights cutting through the snow, but not car headlights. These were different, lower, brighter, and there were so many of them. Multiple motorcycles appeared through the storm like cavalry from another century. A dozen of them materialized from the white curtain engines, rumbling like controlled thunder, like violence held on a leash. They pulled into the parking lot in formation surrounding the diner with the precision of a military operation. Men dismounted, all leather and denim and danger-made flesh. They moved with purpose, with barely restrained violence, with the kind of focus that came from training or instinct or both. And in the center of them all, a man who could only be Vic Castellano. He was massive, 6'4" at least, with shoulders that filled doorways and a presence that filled rooms. His beard was shot through with gray. His face was carved from granite in old as scars, the map of a life lived hard. Tattoos crawled up his neck, disappeared into his leather vest. The vest with the Hells Angels patch. The vest with the eagle wings spread wide, ready to strike, or protect, or both. He spotted them through the window. His eyes locked on Grace, and for a moment the hard man disappeared. For a moment, Evie saw only a father who thought his child was gone forever. The diner door exploded open. 6 bikers stormed in, first fanning out, checking corners, hands near weapons Evie couldn't see but knew were there. They moved like soldiers, like men who'd done this before, like men who knew how to secure space and eliminate threats. Then Vic entered. He crossed the distance in 3 strides. Each step was purpose. Each movement was controlled desperation. Grace. His voice cracked on her name. This mountain of a man, this person who made grown criminals afraid, fell to his knees beside the booth. His massive hands reached out, trembling like leaves in wind, and touched his daughter's face like she might disappear if he gripped too hard. Baby girl, oh baby girl. Grace turned toward his voice and her face crumpled. Daddy, I was so scared. I know, I got you now. Nobody's ever taking you again. He scooped her up and she buried her face in his neck. His eyes closed and Evie saw tears cutting through the hard exterior. Raw grief and relief mixing into something almost painful to witness, like looking at the sun too long. Then his eyes opened, found Evie. The grief vanished, the relief hardened into something else, something dangerous. You. His voice was flat, empty, the voice of a man who'd done terrible things and would do them again without hesitation. You're the one who called. Evie stood, forcing her legs to stay steady, refusing to show the fear that was trying to shake her apart from the inside. Yes. Where did you find her? Bus station. About an hour ago, she was hypothermic. I got her warm fed her, then I saw the missing poster. Vic's jaw worked, muscles bunching under his beard. His men had positioned themselves around the diner, blocking every exit. Evie realized with sudden crystal clarity that she was trapped. You see the poster before or after you found her? The question was a trap. Evie knew it, could feel it. After, I saw it in the bathroom just 20 minutes ago. So you took my daughter somewhere for 40 minutes before calling me. I took her somewhere warm. She was dying. One of the bikers stepped forward, wiry and scarred, with eyes like broken glass. Boss, we should take her in. Ask her proper questions. I didn't kidnap her. Evie's voice rose and she heard the edge of panic in it. I saved her life. Vic stood slowly, still holding Grace. You know who I am. I know what the poster said. Then you know I could make you disappear for what you just put my daughter through. Grace's head lifted from her father's shoulder. Daddy, no. Quiet, baby. No. Grace's voice was stronger than Evie had heard it all night. Stronger than seemed possible for a child who'd been dying an hour ago. Miss Evie helped me. She gave me her coat. She carried me when I couldn't walk. She stayed with me when she could have left. She called you even though she was scared. Don't hurt her. Please. The diner went silent. Evie watched Vic's face, watched him process his daughter's words against his own suspicion and rage. And the hard lessons of a life that had taught him trust was weakness. Finally, he spoke. How much? Evie blinked. What? How much did they pay you to grab her? Nobody paid me anything. I work at Ridgemont Memorial. I was walking home from my shift when I found her. That's it. That's the whole story. Nobody helps for free. Not in this city. Something inside Evie snapped. The exhaustion, the fear, the desperation of her entire life came flooding out in a wave she couldn't control. You're right. Nobody helps for free because we're all too busy trying to survive. But you know what? I have a 6-year-old daughter at home right now, alone, scared, waiting for me. And I should have walked past your daughter. I should have called the police and kept moving. But I didn't. Her voice broke, but she kept going. Because if that was my Lily lying there blind and frozen and dying, I would pray that someone like me would stop. So don't you dare stand there and accuse me of... Her phone rang. Everyone's head turned. Evie looked at the screen and her heart stopped. Lily. Lily never called. Never. She knew Mommy was working. She knew to text. She only called when Evie answered, her hands shaking so hard she almost dropped the phone. Baby Mommy's Lily's voice was barely a whisper, thin and terrified. There's someone trying to open the door. The world stopped. Time stopped. Everything stopped except the sound of her daughter's fear. What someone's trying to get in. I locked it like you said, but they keep trying the handle. And I'm scared, Mommy. I'm so scared. Evie's vision blurred. She looked at Vic, at his men, at this nightmare she'd walked into by trying to do one decent thing. Lily, go to my bedroom. Lock that door too. Get under the bed. Right now, Mommy. Right now. She heard her daughter running, heard the bedroom door slam, heard the lock click. Evie turned to Vic. Her voice was steel. I have to go. My daughter's in danger. You're not going anywhere, then shoot me. But I'm walking out that door in 5 seconds either way. Vic studied her, really looked at her for the first time, saw the hospital scrubs under her coat, the exhaustion carved into her face, the terror that had nothing to do with him and everything to do with a little girl 3 miles away. Grace tugged on his vest. Daddy, let her go, please. Her baby needs her like I needed you. Something shifted in Vic's expression, something hard, softening just enough to let light through. He jerked his head at 2 of his men. Ghost, Reaper, escort her. Make sure she gets there safe. Anyone tries to hurt her or her kid, you handle it. The 2 bikers nodded. Evie didn't wait for permission. She ran. The motorcycle ride was terror and speed and wind that cut like knives. Evie had never been on a bike before. Had to cling to the man they called Ghost, while the world streaked past at speeds that should have been illegal. Behind them, Reaper followed his engine, a war cry against the storm. They rode like they were born to it, like the snow and ice and physics didn't apply to them. 7 minutes. That's how long it took to cross 3 miles that should have taken 20 in this weather. They skidded to a stop outside Evie's building, and she jumped off before the bike fully stopped. Her legs shook, but she ran, sprinted toward the stairs, her heart hammering. Grace's voice still echoing in her head. Ghost and Reaper followed hands inside their jackets, reaching for things Evie didn't want to think about. Her apartment door was closed, but the lock, God, the lock had fresh scratches. Someone had tried to pick it. Recently. The marks were new bright metal showing through old paint. Evie fumbled with her keys, her hands shaking too hard to aim properly. Ghost gently moved her aside, took the keys, opened the door with steady hands that had done this before. Lily. No answer. Lily, it's Mommy. The bedroom door creaked open. Lily's face appeared streaked with tears, pale as snow. She saw Evie and ran, hitting her like a small missile, all arms and legs in desperate need. Mommy, Mommy, Mommy. Evie sank to the floor, holding her daughter, checking for injuries, counting fingers and toes and heartbeats, like they were precious things that might disappear. Are you okay? Did anyone get in? No, I stayed quiet like you said. I stayed under the bed. But Mommy, I was so scared. I know, baby. I know. I'm here now. Ghost moved past them, checking the apartment with professional efficiency. Reaper stayed by the door, watching the hallway like threats might materialize from the shadows. Clear. Ghost called from the bedroom. He knelt by the door, examining the lock with fingers that knew locks the way surgeons knew scalpels. Someone tried to jimmy it. Recent, maybe 30 minutes ago. Evie's mind raced. 30 minutes ago, she was at the diner with Grace. Someone had tried to break in while she was gone. But why random burglary or something else? Something connected to Grace, to Vic, to the choice she'd made to help Lily pull back. Looked at Evie's face, saw the fear her mother was trying to hide. Mommy, why are there big, scary men here? They're not scary, baby. They're helping us. Ghost turned, and despite everything, despite the scars and the leather and the gun, Evie could now see in his waistband, he smiled at Lily. The smile was crooked, almost gentle. Hey, little miss. You did real good tonight. Real brave. Lily buried her face in Evie's shoulder. Evie's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. We need to talk. Tomorrow. I'll send a car. Vic. It had to be. She didn't respond. Didn't know what to say. Didn't know how to process any of this. Ghost and Reaper exchanged glances. Some unspoken communication passed between them. Boss wants us to sit outside tonight. Ghost's voice was matter of fact. Make sure nobody comes back. That's not necessary. Wasn't asking permission, ma'am. Someone tried your door while you had boss's daughter. That ain't coincidence. The implication hit her like cold water thrown in her face. The people who'd taken Grace. They knew Evie had been involved. They knew where she lived. They knew about Lily. She looked down at her daughter, who'd finally stopped crying, whose small body was still trembling against hers. Evie had just crossed a line she couldn't uncross. She'd entered a world she didn't understand, pulled there by nothing more than the choice to help a child who needed her. Ghost headed for the door. Lock this behind us. Triple check it. We'll be right outside. They left. Evie locked the door, tested it twice, then carried Lily to bed. Her daughter was asleep before Evie finished tucking her in exhaustion, finally claiming what fear had held at bay. Evie sat on the edge of the bed, watching Lily breathe. Just hours ago, her biggest worry was making rent. Now she had bikers guarding her door and criminals who knew her address. Her phone buzzed again. Another text from Vic. You saved my daughter's life. I don't forget that. But you need to understand what you walked into. The people who took Grace won't stop. And now they know about you. Evie's hands shook as she typed back. What do you mean? The response came immediately. Tomorrow we talk. Until then you're protected. Try to sleep. Sleep, as if that was possible. As if she could close her eyes and pretend this was just another nightmare shift at the hospital. But when she looked at her daughter sleeping peaceful now, despite everything, Evie knew the truth. She'd made a choice tonight, and that choice had consequences she was only beginning to understand. Consequences that came with the rumble of motorcycle engines outside, with the weight of a stranger's gratitude, with the knowledge that helping one child had put her own in danger. Outside, she heard the steady rumble of motorcycles. Low, constant, the sound of men who didn't sleep when one of their own was threatened. And Evie, for the first time in 4 years of survival, for the first time since David died and left her alone, wasn't entirely alone anymore. She just didn't know yet if that was salvation or damnation. Evie woke to knocking, not soft knocking, the kind that meant business, that said someone on the other side had already decided they were coming in whether she answered or not. She jolted upright, heart already racing, and checked the time. 7:43, 3 hours of sleep. Her body screamed for more, but adrenaline overrode everything the way it had been doing for 4 years now. Lily stirred beside her. They'd slept together, Evie too afraid to let her daughter out of arm's reach, too terrified of what might happen if she closed her eyes and something came through that door. Mommy, who is it? Stay here. Evie grabbed the baseball bat she kept by the bed. David's bat, the one he'd used in the company's softball league back when he was alive, back when life was something other than survival. She crept to the door, looked through the peephole. Ghost stood there holding a coffee tray and a paper bag. Behind him, Reaper leaned against the hallway wall, watching the stairs like threats might climb up them. She opened the door a crack, chain still on. What do you want? Boss sent breakfast. Ghost held up the bag. Said you'd need it. And coffee. Real coffee, not that hospital vending machine poison. Despite everything, despite the fear and exhaustion and chaos, Evie's stomach growled. She hadn't eaten since yesterday morning. Hadn't even thought about food until now. She undid the chain. Ghost handed her the bag. Inside, real food. Eggs, bacon toast, 2 of everything. 1 for Lily. He also sent this. Ghost pulled an envelope from his jacket. Thick, heavy, the kind of heavy that meant money. Evie didn't take it. What is it, money? For your trouble. I don't want his money. Ma'am, with respect, you're about to lose a day's work because of what happened. Maybe more. This covers it. I said I don't want it. Ghost's expression didn't change, didn't shift. He just stood there, patient as stone. Then don't spend it, but you're taking it. Because if you don't, boss will think and you're refusing his gratitude. And that insults him. You don't want to insult him. The words weren't a threat, just a statement of fact, a simple equation in a world Evie didn't understand yet. She took the envelope. Car's coming at 9. Boss wants to talk. I have work. Called in sick for you. Hospital thinks you got the flu. Evie's jaw dropped. You can't just, already done. 9 a.m. Be ready. Ghost left before she could argue. Evie stood there, envelope in hand, feeling control of her life, slipping further away with every passing moment. Lily appeared in the doorway, rubbing her eyes. Is that food? They ate in silence. The eggs were perfect. The coffee was strong enough to raise the dead. Evie hated how good it tasted, hated that she was grateful for it. This was how it started, wasn't it? Small favors, little debts, until you owed more than you could repay, until you were owned. She opened the envelope. $5,000, cash. Her vision blurred. $5,000, that was 3 months of rent, 6 months of groceries. Lily's medication, the asthma stuff insurance wouldn't cover. It was everything Evie had been drowning without, and it was a chain around her neck. Lily noticed the money. Mommy, that's a lot. It is. Are we rich now? Evie's laugh came out, broken, sharp-edged. No, baby. We're not rich. Then why did they give it to us? How did you explain debts to a 6-year-old? How did you explain that nothing in this world came free, that everything had a price? That kindness was just another word for leverage because I helped someone, and they wanted to say thank you. That's nice. Nice. God, if only it were that simple. At 8:55, Evie dressed in her only clean pair of jeans and a sweater that had seen better days. She braided Lily's hair, packed her daughter's coloring books and snacks. No way was she leaving Lily alone again. Not after last night. Not ever again if she could help it. The car arrived precisely at 9. Not a motorcycle this time. A black SUV with tinted windows, the kind that screamed money and power and don't ask questions. Ghost opened the back door. She comes too. Evie held Lily's hand tight. Ghost glanced at Lily, then nodded. Boss figured. They drove through parts of Ridgemont Evie had never seen. Past the gentrified downtown with its coffee shops and boutiques, past the industrial warehouses where she'd found grace, into territory where buildings wore their scars like badges of honor, where broken windows were statements and graffiti was history written in spray paint. The SUV pulled up to a compound surrounded by chain link and razor wire. The Hells Angels Clubhouse. The name alone had kept Evie away from this neighborhood for years. Lily's hand tightened in hers. Mommy, I'm scared. Me too, baby. But we're brave together. Okay. Inside the clubhouse was nothing like Evie expected. She'd imagined some dark den of violence and drugs and everything the news said motorcycle clubs were. Instead, she found a large open space that looked almost like a VFW hall, pool tables, a bar, worn couches that had seen better decades, photos on the walls of men on bikes, at rallies, at barbecues. Normal. Almost. Except for the men. 20 of them at least. All leather and muscle and watchful eyes that tracked Evie's every movement like she was prey that had wandered into a wolf den. They stopped talking when she entered. Vic sat at a table in the back. Grace was on his lap eating cereal, her head resting against his chest, like that was where she belonged, like that was the safest place in the world. When she heard the door, she turned. Miss Evie, hi, sweetheart. Grace's face lit up like sunrise. You came. Daddy said you would, but I wasn't sure. Lily peeked out from behind Evie's leg, her small hand gripping her mother's jeans. Grace tilted her head, listening with that focused attention blind children developed. Is that your daughter? It is. Lily, say hello to Grace. Lily's voice came out tiny, barely there. Hello, don't be scared. Grace's smile was gentle. Nobody here hurts kids. That's Daddy's biggest rule. The only rule that matters. Vic stood setting Grace down carefully. Up close in daylight filtering through dirty windows, he looked older than Evie had thought. Maybe late 40s. The kind of tired that came from carrying weight too long, from making choices that left scars you couldn't see. Mrs. Hartwell. Miss. And it's just Evie. Evie. He gestured to a chair. It wasn't a request. Sit, please. Evie sat. Lily climbed into her lap, mirroring Grace and Vic, two daughters seeking safety in their parents' presence. The two girls stared at each other with that instant curiosity only children had, that ability to see past fear straight to possibility. Vic signaled to someone. A woman appeared. Older, kind-faced, wearing a Hell's Angels support shirt that said, property of no one. This is Maggie. She'll watch the girls while we talk. Number. Evie held Lily tighter. She stays with me. Evie, what we need to discuss isn't for kids. Then we don't discuss it. They locked eyes, testing each other, measuring resolve against resolve. Finally, Vic's mouth twitched, almost a smile. Almost. Maggie set them up in the back room. TV, snacks, whatever they need. Maggie's voice was pure grandmother, warm and safe, and everything these men weren't. Come on, sweethearts. I got cartoons and cookies fresh from the oven. Grace reached out. Lily, want to watch with me? Lily looked at Evie, uncertain, seeking permission. Evie kissed her forehead. It's okay, baby. I'll be right here. Right through that door. The girls left hand in hand, Grace guiding Lily with the confidence of someone who'd navigated blind her whole life, who'd learned to see the world through touch and sound and trust. The door closed behind them. Vic sat back down, poured coffee from a pot on the table like they were about to discuss something mundane. Weather, sports, anything but the chaos Evie had stumbled into. You've got guts, I'll give you that. Or I'm just stupid. Maybe both. He slid a cup toward her. Black, strong, the kind of coffee that meant business. What I'm about to tell you stays in this room. Understand? Evie nodded. 3 days ago, a crew from the Iron Jackals grabbed Grace outside her school. Evie's stomach clenched. They're a rival club, 2 counties over, been trying to move into our territory for months. Taking my daughter was supposed to be leverage. Leverage for what they want, our drug connections, our protection rackets, our whole operation. Vic's voice was flat, emotionless, but his hands shook around his coffee cup. I told them to go to hell. So they took Grace. Evie's blood ran cold. They were going to kill her eventually. First they wanted to break me, make me watch them hurt her until I gave them everything. His jaw worked, muscles bunching. Grace got lucky. The idiots left her in a car with the door unlocked. She heard them arguing outside, realized they weren't watching, and she ran. Blind girl in a snowstorm. Evie's voice was barely a whisper, just running on pure terror. How did she get so far from where they took her? Best we can figure, she ran for 3 hours. 3 hours in the cold, no coat, no idea where she was going, just away. His eyes met Evie's. If you hadn't found her, but I did, you did, which created a problem. Evie's pulse quickened. What kind of problem? Vic leaned forward. The Jackals had someone watching my place, waiting for me to crack. They saw you bring Grace in. Saw my men escort you home. They know you're involved now. I'm not involved. I just helped a lost kid. Doesn't matter. To them, you're leveraged now. If they can't get to Grace, they'll get to you. And if they get to you, they get to Lily. The room felt too small suddenly. Evie couldn't breathe. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to understand what you walked into. His voice was hard now. And because I'm offering you protection. I don't want protection. I want my normal life back. That life ended the second you picked up my daughter. Vic's eyes held no apology. I'm sorry, truly. But the jackals don't forget. They sure as hell don't forgive. Right now they think you're one of mine. And as long as they think that they'll come for you. Evie stood chair scraping. Then tell them I'm not. Tell them I was just some random person who... They won't believe it. And even if they did, it wouldn't matter. You humiliated them. Their prize ran away and ended up safe because of you. That's a debt they'll want to collect. So what am I supposed to do? Join your club. Become some bikers. The room went dead silent. Several of the men shifted hands, moving toward weapons. Evie realized too late she'd crossed a line, said something that in this world meant disrespect, meant threat. But Vic just laughed. Hard and genuine, the sound unexpected in this place of leather and violence. Old lady, Jesus, you got fire. He waved the men down. No, you keep your life, your job, your apartment, but you accept protection. My men watch your building. They escort you to work. They make sure Lily gets to school safe. And what do I owe you for this protection? Nothing. Everything has a price. Vic's smile faded. You're right, it does. The price is you don't refuse, you don't fight it, and you don't put yourself or my men in danger by being stupid. Evie wanted to argue, wanted to tell him where he could shove his protection. But she thought of Lily, of someone trying their door last night, of men who'd kidnapped a blind child and wouldn't hesitate to hurt another. How long until the jackals are handled? Handled how, you don't want to know. He was right, she didn't. A phone rang. One of the men answered, listened, his face going hard. Boss, we got movement. Jackals are asking around about a woman late 20s works at the hospital. Evie's vision swam. They were already hunting her. Vic stood. Get her somewhere safe, now. Wait, Evie started, but Vic cut her off. Your apartment isn't secure. They know where you live. We need to move you. I'm not leaving my home. Then you're signing your daughter's death warrant. The words hit like a physical blow. Evie looked toward the back room where Lily and Grace were laughing over cartoons, their voices carrying through the door like promises of innocence this world was trying to break. Her baby girl who'd already lost her father, who couldn't lose her mother too. Where would we go? We've got a safe house, north side, quiet neighborhood. You and Lily stay there until this blows over. I have to work. I have bills. Covered. Vic pulled out his phone, typed something. Your rent's paid for 6 months. Your car payment too. I already checked. Evie's mouth went dry. How do you know my car payment? I know everything I need to know to keep you safe. It should have terrified her. Should have sent her running. But all Evie felt was exhausted. So bone-deep tired of fighting alone. Okay, Vic blinked. Okay. On one condition, name it. I want to work. I don't care if it's cleaning toilets or filing papers. I won't be a prisoner. I won't be useless. Something shifted in Vic's expression. Respect, maybe. Recognition. You know, accounting, enough to balance a checkbook. Club's got legitimate businesses. Auto shop, 2 bars, a construction company. Books are a mess. You fix them, you earn your keep. Fair. It wasn't fair. Nothing about this was fair. But it was survival. Deal. They shook hands. His grip was rough, scarred, but careful, like he was afraid of breaking her. The back room door opened. Grace and Lily emerged holding hands, and something in Evie's chest cracked at the sight. Mommy, Grace says we're going to be neighbors. Evie looked at Vic. He shrugged. Grace is staying at the safe house too. Makes sense. Can't protect her at my own place any better than you can protect Lily at yours. 2 single parents, 2 girls, 1 safe house, 1 war neither of them had chosen. Maggie appeared with bags already packed. Clothes for both of them. Toys too. How long had Vic been planning this? Since last night? Since the moment Evie called him. Ghost and Reaper materialized like they'd been waiting in the shadows. SUVs ready. Evie looked around the clubhouse at these men who terrified the whole city, who killed and fought and broke laws, but who were protecting her daughter when no one else would. Thank you. The words came out small, but she meant them. Vic nodded once. Thank me by staying alive. They left through a back entrance loaded into the SUV with tinted windows. Lily sat between Evie and Grace, chattering about cartoons, while Grace listened and smiled and sometimes laughed. Evie watched them and felt her world tilting on an axis she hadn't known existed. 24 hours ago, she'd been alone, drowning but alone. Now she had bikers guarding her life and a child who wasn't hers depending on her presence. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. We know who you are, Evelyn Hartwell. We know where you work, where your daughter goes to school. You made a mistake helping Castellano. We're going to teach you what happens to people who interfere. Evie's hands went numb. She looked at Ghost in the driver's seat. They just texted me. Ghost's jaw tightened. Show me. She handed him the phone. He read it, passed it to Reaper. Boss needs to see this. How did they get my number? Same way they knew where you lived. Same way they knew everything. Ghost's voice was grim. They've got someone on the inside. Cop, probably. Maybe hospital admin. Someone who can access records. Lily tugged Evie's sleeve. Mommy, what's wrong? Evie forced a smile that felt like breaking glass. Nothing, baby. Just work stuff. But Grace's head tilted. She could hear the lie in Evie's voice, could sense fear the way blind children learn to sense everything. Her small hand found Evie's and squeezed. The safe house was in a neighborhood that had seen better days, but was trying to claw its way back. Small houses with chain-link fences, kids' bikes on porches, cars that ran but barely. Normal. Working class. The kind of place where people minded their business because everyone had something to hide. 2 motorcycles were parked at each end of the block. Men watching. Always watching. Inside the house was clean but sparse. 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. A kitchen that smelled like someone had tried to make it homey with air freshener and failed. Maggie bustled in behind them. Girls, your room's upstairs. Left door. I put the beds next to each other so you can talk at night. Lily's eyes went wide. We get to share a room. Grace grinned. Like sisters. They thundered upstairs, at all fear forgotten in the magic of a sleepover that wouldn't end. Evie stood in the kitchen staring at the refrigerator. Someone had stocked it with real food. Fresh vegetables, milk that wasn't about to expire, bread that was soft. Maggie touched her shoulder. It's a lot, I know. I don't know how to do this, do what honeybee protected. Accept help, Evie's voice cracked. I've been alone so long I forgot what it feels like. Maggie's smile was sad knowing. Vic was the same way when Sarah died. Pushed everyone away, tried to do it all himself, nearly killed him. Sometimes the strongest thing we can do is let someone else carry the weight for a while. Upstairs, the girls giggled. Grace was teaching Lily how to navigate with her hands instead of her eyes. Lily was teaching Grace how to draw dragons she couldn't see. 2 children who should have nothing in common, finding everything that mattered. Evie's phone rang. The hospital. Miss Hartwell, this is Administrator Brennan. We need to discuss your absence. I called in sick. You've called in sick 3 times this month. We're concerned about your reliability. 3 times because Lily had asthma attacks, because Evie had the flu, because life didn't stop just because she had a shift. I'll be back tomorrow. Actually, we need to put you on administrative leave. Pending review. Evie's world stopped. You're firing me. Not firing, reviewing. There have been concerns about your judgment. What concerns? A pause. Too long. Someone reported seeing you with known criminals, motorcycle club members. We can't have that associated with our staff. They knew. The jackals had gotten to the hospital, had told them just enough to make Evie toxic. I see. We'll be in touch. The line went dead. Evie stood there, phone in hand, feeling the last pieces of her normal life crumble. Her job, her income, her independence, gone. Maggie was watching. What happened? I just lost everything. No, you didn't, Maggie's voice was firm. You lost a job that wasn't paying you enough anyway. You didn't lose your daughter. You didn't lose yourself. And you sure didn't lose the people who are going to make sure you come out of this alive. Evie wanted to believe her, wanted to think this was temporary, but she'd seen how these things went. Once you were marked, once you were associated with the wrong people, there was no going back. She walked outside needing air. Ghost was on the porch smoking. You okay now? He nodded like that was the right answer. Boss said you might want to talk. He's good at listening. Better than you'd think. Why are you doing this? Any of you, you don't know me. Ghost took a long drag. You know what Grace told Vic this morning? Evie shook her head. She said you smelled like her mama, that you held her the same way. Ghost looked at Evie, and when Vic asked what she meant, Grace said like, I'm the most important thing in the world. He exhaled smoke into the cold air. Vic would burn this city down for someone who made his daughter feel that way. And so would the rest of us. Evie's eyes burned. I'm just a CNA who made one decent choice. That's all it takes sometimes. One choice. Everything else follows. Inside, the girls called for Evie. Lily wanted to show her something Grace had taught her. Evie went back in, back to the temporary home, back to the life she hadn't chosen but was learning to live. And in that moment, wiping her daughter's happy tears while a blind girl giggled beside them, Evie realized something terrifying. She wasn't afraid of the jackals anymore. She was afraid of how much she was starting to depend on the people protecting her, because depending on anyone meant they could leave, could disappear, could die like David did, leaving her alone again. But when Grace grabbed her hand and said, "You're my second favorite person after Daddy," Evie understood the real truth. She'd already crossed the point of no return. Now she just had to survive what came next. 3 days in the safe house, and Evie learned that waiting was its own kind of torture. Lily and Grace had settled into a rhythm. Two girls building a world where blindness and poverty didn't matter, where mothers were present and danger was just a word. But Evie felt the walls closing in. Every motorcycle that passed outside made her jump. Every phone call could be the one that changed everything. She was folding laundry in the kitchen when Vic arrived unannounced. No knock, just the sound of the front door opening and boots on hardwood. It's just me. He called out like that made it okay, like this was his house and Evie was the guest. Evie appeared in the doorway, basket on her hip. You ever think about knocking? It's my safe house. I'm living in it. They stared at each other. Then Vic's mouth twitched. You're right. I'll knock next time. The concession surprised her. Men like Vic didn't apologize, didn't adjust. At least that's what she thought. The girls are upstairs drawing, I figured. Vic's expression softened instantly, the hard edges disappearing when he thought about his daughter. Grace is teaching Lily how to draw by touch. Lily's teaching Grace about dragons. They've got a whole mythology going. Dragons, Vic's voice carried something Evie couldn't quite name. Longing, maybe, or loss. Sarah used to tell Grace dragon stories. Said every girl needed to believe in something fierce that could protect them. It was the first time Vic had mentioned Grace's mother beyond the bare facts. Sarah died. Grace lived. The equation that had defined his life for 8 years. Evie set down the laundry. How long has it been? 8 years. Grace was born and Sarah just bled out. They couldn't stop it. His hand went to his vest, touched a spot over his heart. I got Grace, but I lost everything else that mattered. I know that feeling. Different but the same. Your husband. Vic's voice was quiet. Factory accident. Lily was 2. Evie's throat tightened. We were planning her birthday party. One minute I'm picking out decorations, the next I'm planning a funeral. He was working a double shift to pay for it. 15-hour day, exhausted, fell asleep operating a press. It crushed his chest. Vic's jaw worked. You blame yourself every single day. Yeah, he looked up the stairs where the girls' laughter echoed. Every single day, they stood in shared silence. Two people who'd learned that survival meant carrying guilt you never asked for. The moment shattered when Vic's phone rang. He answered and Evie watched his whole body go rigid. When how many a pause. Damn it, lock it down. Nobody in or out. He hung up, already moving. Get the girls now. Evie's heart stopped. What happened? Jackals hit one of our warehouses. Burned it to the ground, left a message spray painted on what was left. His eyes met hers. They wrote your name. The world tilted. Evie ran upstairs, burst into the girls' room. Lily and Grace sat cross-legged on the floor. Papers scattered everywhere. A universe of dragons and castles and stories only they understood. Mommy Lily's smile faded. What's wrong? We need to go downstairs. Right now. Grace's head tilted. Is it the bad men, smart girl? Too smart for 8 years old. Just come with me, sweetheart. Downstairs, Vic was on his phone again, barking orders. Ghost and Reaper appeared from somewhere armed and tense. Maggie materialized, gathered the girls to her like she'd done this before, like protecting children during gang wars was just another Tuesday. What did the message say? Evie demanded. Vic hesitated. Tell me. The woman pays for what she stole. I didn't steal anything. You stole Grace from them. That's how they see it. Vic's hands curled into fists. They're escalating. Burning property, making threats. Next step is what following through. Evie's legs almost gave out. She thought of Lily upstairs drawing dragons. Of Grace teaching her how to see without eyes. Of their laughter that had filled this house with something that felt almost like hope. What do? We end this, tonight. The words hung heavy in the air. You're going after them. Damn right I am. And if you don't come back, what happens to Grace? Vic's expression cracked. For just a moment, the fear showed through. That's why I'm here. I need you to promise me something. What if something happens to me? You take care of her. Not my club. Not foster care. You. Evie's breath caught. Vic. She trusts you. In 3 days, she trusts you more than people I've known for years. That means something. He pulled an envelope from his jacket. Legal guardianship papers. Already drawn up. Just need your signature. You can't ask me to. I'm not asking. I'm begging. His voice broke. My daughter has nobody else. No grandparents. No aunts or uncles worth a damn. Just me. And if the jackals take me out tonight, she'll end up in a system that'll destroy her. You know I'm right. Evie looked at the envelope. At this man who terrified entire neighborhoods, asking her to be a mother to his child. What about Maggie, or one of your men? Maggie's 64 with a heart condition. My men are soldiers, not fathers. Grace needs someone who already knows how to love a kid more than their own life. His eyes bore into hers. Someone like you. Lily appeared at the top of the stairs. Mommy, Grace is asking for you. Evie's hands shook as she took the envelope. Don't die tonight. I'll do my best. He turned to leave and Evie grabbed his arm. Vic, wait. What if there's another way? There isn't? How do you know? Have you tried what? Talking to them. Talking. Vic's laugh was bitter. Jackals don't talk. They take and they destroy. That's all they understand. Then make them understand something else. Evie's mind raced. Make them understand that killing you means war with every club in the state. Make them understand the cost is too high. They already know the cost. They just don't care. Then hit them where they do care. Evie's voice was urgent now. You said they want your territory, your connections, so give them something that looks valuable but isn't. Make them think they won. Vic stared at her. You're suggesting I negotiate. I'm suggesting you survive. For Grace. The room went quiet. Ghost and Reaper exchanged glances. Maggie watched from the corner, her face unreadable. Finally, Vic spoke. Even if I wanted to, they won't negotiate. Not now. Not after they've committed this much. So make them think it's their idea. Evie's nursing experience kicked in the de-escalation training for violent patients. You give them a win that doesn't cost you anything real. Pride, maybe? Territory you were planning to abandon anyway. Make them feel powerful while you stay alive. And when they realize they've been played, by then you've bought time. Time to actually end this without getting yourself killed. Vic's phone rang again. He answered, listened, and his face went white. Say that again. His voice was deadly calm. Where exactly? He hung up. Looked at Evie. They're at Lily's school. The world stopped. What jackals? 3 of them. Asking teachers about a student named Lily Hartwell. Showing her picture. Evie couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Lily's school. They knew where her daughter went to school. How did they? Someone talked. Someone always talks. Vic was already moving. Ghost. Reaper. With me. Maggie locked this place down. No one in and or out. Evie grabbed her coat. I'm coming. No, you're not. That's my daughter's school. I'm coming. They locked eyes. Vic saw something there that made him nod. Stay behind me. Do exactly what I say. Understood. They were out the door in seconds, motorcycles roaring to life. Evie climbed on behind Vic, holding on as they tore through streets she barely recognized. Her mind kept repeating one thing. Lily's school. They went to Lily's school. The elementary school looked peaceful in the afternoon light. Kids on the playground, their laughter carrying on the December wind. Teachers watching from the sidelines, clipboards in hand. Normal. Safe. Everything a school should be. Except for the three men in leather standing by the fence talking to Principal Patterson. Vic killed the engine half a block away. His hand went to Evie's arm, holding her back. Stay here, like hell. But she was already walking, her fear transforming into something harder, sharper. These men had threatened her daughter, had gone to her baby's school. The jackals saw her coming, saw Vic behind her. The biggest one, a man with a shaved head and neck tattoos that crawled up to his jaw, smiled. It was the kind of smile that had nothing to do with happiness. Well. The woman herself. Get away from my daughter's school. Evie's voice didn't shake. She was beyond shaking now. Just having a conversation with the nice principal here. The man's voice was casual, conversational, talking about student safety. You know, making sure little Lily gets home safe every day. The threat was clear as broken glass. Principal Patterson looked terrified. A thin woman in her 50s who'd spent 30 years teaching children to read, now caught between motorcycle gangs and violence she'd only seen on television. Evie stepped closer. You don't touch my kid. You don't talk about my kid. You don't even think about my kid. Or what? The jackal's smile widened. You'll sick your biker boyfriend on us. We're already here, sweetheart. Already know everything we need to know. Vic moved forward, but Evie put her hand on his chest, stopped him. You want to hurt me? Fine. Come after me. But the second you involve children, you lose whatever code you think you're living by. You become exactly what everyone already thinks you are. Cowards who hide behind innocent kids because you can't face the real fight. The jackal's smile faded. Watch your mouth. No, you watch yours. Evie's voice was steel now. Because I might not have a club behind me, but I have something you'll never understand. I have a daughter. And I will burn your entire world down before I let you touch her. The playground had gone quiet. Teachers were ushering kids inside, their movements quick and efficient. Principal Patterson had her phone out, probably calling the police. The jackal stepped forward. Vic's hand went to his waist. Ghost and Reaper flanked them, hands inside their jackets. The air crackled with violence, waiting to happen. Then a voice called out, "That's enough." Everyone turned. An older man stood by, a black motorcycle gray beard, worn leather eyes that had seen everything twice. He walked with a limp, but he carried authority like a weapon he didn't need to draw. Razor. The jackal's voice held reluctant respect. This doesn't concern you. When you bring a war to a school playground, it concerns everyone. Razor looked at Vic. Castellano, Razor. Vic's tone was neutral. Careful. You two want to kill each other. That's your business. But not here, not in front of kids. Razor looked at the jackals. You made your point, now leave. We're not done with her. Yeah, you are. Razor's voice was flat. Because I'm making this a neutral zone. Right here, right now, this school, this woman's kid. Off limits. Both sides. The lead jackal's jaw worked. You can't just declare I can and I did. You got a problem with it, take it up with the council. Razor's eyes were hard. Unless you want to explain to every club in the state why you're starting a war over one woman and a blind kid. Silence stretched. The jackal looked at Evie, at Vic, at the school behind them, calculating, weighing options. Finally, he spat at Evie's feet and walked away. His men followed, engines roaring to life, the sound of retreat that promised this wasn't over. Razor turned to Evie. You've got guts, lady. Stupid, but guts. Who are you? Someone who's tired of watching good people get caught in our wars. He looked at Vic. You need to end this, clean, before more civilians get hurt. I'm trying. Try harder. Razor climbed on his bike. And you, he said to Evie, get your kid out of this city tonight. Because that neutral zone I just declared, it'll hold for maybe 24 hours. After that, all bets are off. He rode away, leaving them standing in front of Lily's school with teachers watching from windows and sirens growing louder in the distance. Vic grabbed Evie's arm. We need to go. Now. They got back on the bikes and rode. Police cars passed them, headed toward the school. Evie's whole body trembled. She'd just confronted drug dealers at her daughter's school, had threatened men who killed for less. What was happening to her? Back at the safe house, Maggie had Lily and Grace in the kitchen making cookies. The normalcy of it, the domesticity felt surreal after what had just happened. Lily saw Evie and ran to her. "Mommy, we're making chocolate chip." Evie held her daughter so tight, Lily squeaked, "I can't breathe, Mommy. Sorry, baby. Just really happy to see you." Grace's voice came from the kitchen, her blind eyes turned toward the door. "Did something bad happen?" Vic went to her, knelt down. "Nothing you need to worry about, sweetheart. Daddy, I can hear when you're lying. Your voice gets tight." He kissed her forehead. "Smart girl. Yeah, something happened. But it's handled, for now." Evie put Lily down, sent her back to the cookies, and pulled Vic aside. "Razor was right. We need to get them out of the city, where jackals have connections everywhere. Somewhere they don't. Somewhere remote." Evie's mind worked. "My husband's family has a cabin. Middle of nowhere, 3 hours north. I haven't been there since he died, but it's still ours. No one would think to look there. Your husband's family, they're going to be okay with you showing up with bikers. They hate me. Think I killed their son by making him work too much. They won't even know we're there." Vic considered. "How remote? Nearest neighbor is 4 miles. Nearest town is 20. It's hunting season." "We'd blend in. We..." Evie swallowed hard. "You said it yourself. Grace trusts me, and Lily trusts Grace. We're in this together now." Vic's expression shifted. "You're talking about running, hiding. I'm talking about keeping our daughters alive while you figure out how to end this war without ending yourself. I can't leave my club. Then send someone you trust. But those girls can't stay here. Not with jackals knowing about the school. Not with Razor's protection expiring in 24 hours. Vic looked toward the kitchen where Grace was teaching Lily how to fold dough by feel. His daughter laughing. "Safe. For now, okay." The word came out rough. "Okay. But not just you. I'm sending old Iron McLeod. Best man I've got. Who you'll meet, him, former steelworker from Pittsburgh. Tough as they come, he'll keep you safe. What about you? I'm finishing this. Tomorrow night, one way or another." The words carried a finality that made Evie's chest tighten. "Don't be a hero. Wasn't planning on it. But I'm done running, done hiding." The jackals want a war, they're about to get one. Evie saw it then, the hardness that made Vic who he was. The willingness to burn everything rather than bend. It was what made him dangerous, what made him powerful, what might get him killed. "Grace needs her father, and I need her to be safe. That's why you're leaving tonight." They packed quickly. Maggie helped moving with practiced efficiency. 2 bags each, essentials only. Grace sensed something was wrong, kept asking questions Lily couldn't answer. At the door, Vic held his daughter, his massive arms wrapped around her small frame like he could protect her from the world through sheer will. "You're going on an adventure. Evie and Lily and Old Iron are going to take you somewhere safe. Somewhere with trees and quiet and nobody to be scared of." "When are you coming?" "Soon as I can, baby girl." "Promise." Vic's eyes met Evie's over Grace's head. "I promise." It was a lie. They both knew it. But sometimes lies were all you had to give. A truck pulled up outside, not an SUV this time. A beat-up Ford F-150 that had seen better decades. An older man climbed out, gray-bearded and stocky, moving with the careful precision of someone whose body had been broken and rebuilt too many times. "This is Old Iron McLeod." Vic made the introductions. "He'll keep you safe." Old Iron's voice was gravelly, carrying the faint trace of Scottish ancestry. "Ma'am, girls, let's get you somewhere warm." They loaded into the truck. Lily and Grace in the back seat holding hands. Evie in front with Old Iron. As they pulled away, Evie watched Vic in the side mirror until he disappeared. Watched the safe house fade. Watched the city lights thin as they headed north into darkness. Lily fell asleep against Grace's shoulder. But Grace stayed awake, her unseeing eyes pointed toward the window. "Miss Evie." "Yes, sweetheart. My daddy's going to fight them, isn't he?" Evie's throat closed. "Yes, he might not come back. He's coming back. But he might not." Grace's voice was small. "That's why he hugged me so long. That's why he made you promise. 8 years old and blind and understanding things that would break most adults. Grace, your daddy is the strongest person I've ever met. He's going to do everything in his power to come back to you." "I know, but sometimes everything isn't enough." Grace's voice broke. That's what happened to my mommy. Evie reached back, found Grace's hand. Then we make sure it's enough this time. Old Iron drove in silence, checking mirrors every few seconds. They left the highway, took back roads, doubled back twice, making sure no one followed. 3 hours became 4. The cabin appeared finally a dark shape against darker woods. No lights for miles, no sound except wind through trees. Home. For now, or hiding, Evie wasn't sure which. Old Iron carried Lily inside while Evie guided Grace. The cabin was cold, but someone had been here. The electricity worked, water ran, food stocked in the pantry. Maggie, Old Iron said, reading Evie's expression, called ahead, made arrangements. The girls shared a room upstairs. Evie tucked them in and Lily, already back asleep, Grace still quiet. Will you stay until I fall asleep? Grace whispered. Of course. Evie sat on the floor between their beds, holding both their hands. Outside, Old Iron did a perimeter check. The cabin settled around them, old wood creaking, the language of a place that had seen winters before and would see winters after. Miss Evie, if something happens to Daddy and I have to live with you, would Lily be my sister? For real, Evie's eyes burned. For real, good. I always wanted a sister. Grace's breathing evened out. Evie waited until both girls were deep in sleep before she allowed herself to cry. Quiet tears that wouldn't wake them. Tears for daughters who'd lost too much already. Tears for a man riding into violence to protect them. Tears for herself, for the life she'd had 3 days ago that seemed like another person's memory now. Old Iron found her in the kitchen at dawn. Perimeter secure, no one followed us. Good, you should sleep. Can't. He poured coffee, handed her a mug. Vic's tough, tougher than Pittsburgh steel. You believe that? Old Iron hesitated. I believe he'll try, and that's all any of us can do. Evie's phone buzzed. A text from Vic. In position, going dark. Keep them safe. She typed back, come home to your daughter. No response. The phone stayed dark. Outside, the sun rose over trees. Inside, 2 girls slept peacefully. And somewhere in the city, a war was beginning that would determine if their peace lasted or shattered. 2 days passed, 48 hours of silence that felt like years. Evie checked her phone every 5 minutes. Nothing. Old Iron kept watch, his presence steady as stone. The girls adapted with the resilience of children, turning the cabin into a kingdom where they were princesses and the trees were guards. On the 3rd morning, headlights appeared on the access road. Old Iron moved to the window, hand on his weapon. One vehicle, moving slow. Evie's heart stopped. Who is it? Can't tell yet. The vehicle stopped at the gate. A man got out. Even from this distance, Evie could see the bandages, the way he moved, like every step hurt. Vic. She was out the door before Old Iron could stop her, running through snow, her breath forming clouds. Vic caught her as she reached him, his good arm wrapping around her. You're alive. Barely, his voice was rough. But I'm here. Grace's scream of joy came from the cabin. She'd heard the truck, had known, somehow, that it was her father. Vic held Evie for another moment, then let go to catch his daughter as she ran to him. Daddy, baby girl, I told you I'd come back. You're hurt. Just a scratch. Liar. But Grace was smiling through her tears, her hands finding the bandages, cataloging injuries. Inside, Vic collapsed onto the couch. Old Iron examined him with practiced eyes. You need a hospital. Can't. Too many questions. Evie knelt beside him, her CNA training kicking in. Let me see. She peeled back his shirt. The bandages were soaked through. The wound beneath was angry and red, but clean. Doc Miller did good work. But this needs fresh dressing. She worked efficiently, cleaning and rebandaging, while Vic gritted his teeth. What happened? Evie asked quietly. We hit them. Hard. Burned their main operation. Scattered their crew. And Viper wants to talk. Evie's hand stilled. Talk, yeah. Razor brokered it. Neutral ground, tomorrow. Is it a trap? Probably, but it's also our best shot at ending this without more blood. Lily and Grace appeared with blankets and pillows, determined to take care of the wounded warrior. You need rest, Mr. Vic. Lily's voice was serious. Doctor's orders. Vic smiled despite the pain. Yes, ma'am. That night, with Vic asleep on the couch and the girls in bed, Evie and Old Iron sat in the kitchen. You think this meeting will work? Evie asked. Old Iron shrugged. Depends on what Viper wants. If he wants face, we can give him that. If he wants blood, well, that's different. What would you do? Me, I'd give him that condemned warehouse district on the east side. Nobody wants it anyway. City's been trying to rezone for years. Let him think he won territory, then rebuild somewhere else. Could it be that simple? Nothing's ever simple, but sometimes simple is all we've got. The next day, Vic made calls, arrangements. By evening, he was ready to leave. Evie stopped him at the door. Take this. She handed him the guardianship papers. Signed, what if something happens? Grace has a mother. Now go make sure nothing happens. Vic looked at the papers, then at Evie. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Just come back. He left with Old Iron as backup. Evie waited with the girls every minute stretching into hours. Her phone rang at midnight. It's done. Vic's voice was exhausted. What did you give him? The warehouse district on the east side, 50 grand cash. And an apology. An apology for his pride, for making him look weak in front of his crew. Cost me nothing but words. Saved both our lives. Evie's legs gave out. She sat down hard. It's really over, the territorial war, yeah. Razor brought 5 other club presidents to witness. Told Viper if he didn't take the deal, he'd be fighting a coalition. Viper lost 12 men in our raid. He couldn't afford another battle. Her breath caught. So we're safe. You and Lily are neutral. Officially. Viper agreed. You're civilians who got caught in the middle, off limits to both sides. Evie started crying, relief or exhaustion or both. When are you coming back? Tomorrow? Need to make sure the peace holds first. But Evie, yeah, thank you. For everything. For great. For making me try something other than war. For saving my life by forcing me to think, instead of just fight. You're welcome. She hung up and told the girls. Grace cried happy tears. Lily cheered. And Evie felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. A week later, they returned to the city, not to Evie's old apartment, but to a new one. 2 bedrooms in a safe neighborhood, paid for 6 months. Legitimate employment with Vic's construction company doing books. CPS called for their follow-up visit. Angela Brennan arrived with her clipboard and skepticism. But when she saw the apartment, the stability, the way Lily and Grace had bonded, her expression softened. Miss Hartwell, I'll be honest. This situation raises concerns. The speed of your relationship with Mr. Castellano. The career change. The connection to a motorcycle club. Evie's stomach dropped. However, Angela sat down. I've been doing this job for 12 years. I've seen real danger. Homes where children are neglected, abused, traumatized. This isn't that. Lily is healthy, happy, clearly loved. She speaks highly of you, of Grace, of Mr. Castellano. She's thriving. So I'm closing the investigation. Unfounded. But I'm recommending follow-up visits, monthly for 6 months, to ensure stability continues. Evie's eyes burned. Yes, absolutely. Good, Angela stood. Miss Hartwell, whatever this is you're building, it's working. Don't let anyone tell you there's only one way to make a family. After she left, Evie collapsed on the couch. Lily and Grace cheered, not understanding but knowing it was good. That evening, Vic's phone rang. He listened, his face going pale. When A paused, we'll be right there, he hung up, looked at Evie. That was Doc Miller, Grace's eye specialist, called. There's a cancellation for her surgery. Tomorrow morning. Grace's head snapped up. Surgery? The one that might help me see. For months, they'd been on a waiting list. An experimental procedure, partial vision restoration, expensive, risky, but potentially life-changing. Yeah, baby. Tomorrow morning, if we want it. Do I have to decide now? We have 2 hours. Grace went quiet. Lily squeezed her hand. What if it doesn't work? Grace's voice was small. What if I get my hopes up and nothing changes? Evie knelt in front of her. Then you'll still be the same amazing girl you are now. Nothing about who you are depends on your eyes. But what if it does work? Then you'll see dragons. Real ones, the ones Lily draws for you. Grace turned toward Vic. Daddy, what do you think? Vic's voice was rough. I think you're brave enough to try, but only if you want to. Grace thought for a long moment, then nodded. Okay, let's try. The next morning came fast. They drove to the city to the specialist's office. Grace held both Evie's and Lily's hands in the waiting room. Vic paced despite his healing shoulder. When they called Grace back, she asked for Evie to come with her and Vic. The surgeon explained the procedure. Risks, benefits, success rates. Grace listened with focus beyond her years. Will it hurt? You'll be asleep. When you wake up, your eyes will be bandaged for a week. Then we'll see. A week is a long time. It is. But you're tough, I can tell. Grace squared her shoulders. Okay, let's do it. They wheeled her away. Vic nearly fell apart in the waiting room. Evie held him while he shook with fear and hope. She's going to be fine. You don't know that? No, but I believe it, and right now, that's enough. Lily sat with Old Iron, who'd insisted on coming, drawing pictures for Grace to feel when she woke up. The hours crawled. Finally, the surgeon emerged. The procedure went perfectly. No complications. We'll know more when we remove the bandages next week. Vic nearly crushed the doctor's hand, shaking it. A week later, they returned. Grace sat in the exam chair, Vic on one side, Evie on the other. Lily stood with Old Iron, holding Maggie's hand. Ready? The surgeon asked. Grace nodded. Slowly, carefully, the doctor began removing the bandages. Layer by layer, Grace's eyes stayed closed beneath. Okay, Grace, open your eyes slowly. The light will be bright. Grace's eyes opened, blinked, focused, and saw. Her face transformed. Wonder, shock, joy. Daddy, her voice broke. I can see you. Vic was crying. Yeah, baby, you can see me. Grace's eyes moved. Found Evie. You're beautiful, like I imagined. Evie couldn't speak through her tears. Then Grace saw Lily. You have the prettiest brown eyes, Lily grinned. You have pretty eyes too. The surgeon explained that Grace's vision would never be perfect. Colors were muted, details fuzzy, but she could see shapes, faces, movement, could navigate without the cane, could watch sunsets and read expressions and see the people she loved. It was more than enough. That night, back at the apartment, they celebrated. Grace couldn't stop looking at everything. The pictures Lily had drawn, the dragons on the walls, Vic's smile, Evie's face. This is what home looks like, Grace said, looking around. Lily leaned against her. It looks like us. And it did. Two mothers who'd lost everything and found each other. Two daughters who'd chosen to be sisters. A man who'd learned that strength meant protecting, not destroying. A family built not by blood, but by choice. 6 months later, Evie stood in that same apartment, watching the girls play. They were in the same school now, thriving. Grace's vision had stabilized. Lily's asthma was managed. Vic appeared at the door with the groceries. He'd started spending more time here, less at the clubhouse, building something that looked like normal. Think we did okay? He asked, watching the girls. We did better than okay. We did the impossible. Old Iron arrived with Maggie, both of them fixtures now, family and all but name. That evening at a community barbecue, Vic's club was hosting an unexpected guest appeared. Viper. The crowd went silent. He approached Grace, who stood with Lily, both girls tensing. I heard about your surgery. Viper's voice was gruff. I'm glad it worked. He held out flowers. For the girl who lived when I wanted to hurt her. I'm sorry. Grace looked at the flowers, then at him. Sorry's just a word. Are you going to be better? Viper's jaw worked. I'm trying. Running a soup kitchen now. Trying to put good back in the world. Grace smiled. That's better than sorry. Evie watched this, her hand finding Vic's. He squeezed back. Old Iron raised his beer. I worked Pittsburgh mills 40 years. Thought I knew what family was. Watching grown men forge steel, building things that'd outlast us all. Then I came here and met people willing to die for kids that aren't their blood. That's family. Real family. Everyone raised their drinks. Evie looked around at this impossible family. Ghost and Reaper teaching Lily to throw a football. Maggie braiding Grace's hair. Vic laughing with his brothers while keeping one eye on his daughter. Old Iron mentioned in passing that Derek Smoke Patterson had been expelled from every club in the state. Last anyone heard, he'd left town entirely, still running from gambling debts he'd never pay. Some mistakes, Old Iron said, you don't come back from. That night, after everyone left, Evie sat down to write. A letter to David that she'd never send, but needed to say. You taught me to survive alone. Vic taught me I don't have to. Grace and Lily taught me family is choice, not chance. I'll always love you, but I'm ready to love again. This messy, impossible, beautiful family we built. Vic found her right over her shoulder. You sure about this? About us? More sure than I've ever been about anything. He kissed her forehead. The girls were asleep in their shared room, Lily's arm around Grace even in dreams. Evie watched them and understood something David's death had tried to teach her, but she'd been too scared to learn. Family wasn't about blood. It was about who you'd bleed for, who you'd fight for, who you'd choose every day, even when it was hard. She'd chosen Grace when she could have walked past. She'd chosen this family when she could have run. And they'd chosen her back. That was the only family that mattered. 3 years later, at Lily and Grace's joint birthday party, Evie stood with Vic watching their daughters blow out candles together. Think they remember how we met, Vic asked. Grace does. She told me once she remembers the cold, the fear, and then your voice, and now? Now she remembers family. The girls ran to them, chocolate cake on their faces, joy in their eyes. Mommy, Daddy, can we have a sleepover tonight? Lily asked. You sleep in the same room every night, Vic laughed. But can Grace's dad stay over too, Grace added. He always leaves. Evie and Vic exchanged glances. They'd been dancing around this for months, building towards something neither wanted to rush, but both knew was inevitable. What do you think, Vic asked Evie? I think it's time we stopped pretending this is temporary. That night, with the girls asleep and Vic on the couch that would become his side of the bed, Evie understood something profound. She'd spent 4 years surviving, fighting alone, drowning slowly. It took saving a stranger's child to learn she didn't have to. It took a motorcycle gang to teach her what family meant. It took Grace's blind eyes to help her see. The choice she'd made that night in the snow, the choice to stop when everyone else walked past, had led her here. To this family, this life, this impossible love, and she would make that choice again. Every single time. Because sometimes the family you need finds you in the snow. Sometimes the life you deserve comes from the people you least expect. Sometimes saving someone else is exactly how you save yourself. Outside, the city slept. Inside, a family rested. Not perfect, not traditional, but real. And in the morning, they'd wake up and choose each other again. Because that's what family did. Not the family you're born into, the family you build, one choice at a time.